In Diwaniyah Pediatric Hospital, parents wait in anxious vigil by their sick children. But as in hospitals throughout Iraq, whether their children live or die could be determined by a lack of basic medicines and equipment.
In the emergency room, I found this girl. Her name is Zahra, and she's only 2 days old. She has infant respiratory distress syndrome, a serious condition. She urgently needs drugs, like synthetic surfactant to help her lungs work, and oxygen. But the hospital has no surfactant and no oxygen regulators. Instead, staff have made a crude arrangement of old suction pipes. There's no way to control the level of oxygen that goes to each incubator. Zahra is a twin, born 1.5 months premature. Her family live in Diwaniyah, where her mother is a teacher. The other twin, Abbas, is in a different ward, where I met their father.
والله تشوف انت يعني تعبان وضعيته تعبانه ما مستقر.
The doctor said that because of shortages of drugs and equipment, around half the children with this condition will die. I needed to understand why hospitals are still so short of vital medicines and equipment. Even a small part of Iraq's $23 billion could have paid for these things.
As word spread of the deals to be done in Iraq, contractors from around the world began to congregate. Some were reputable, some were not.
It attracted soldiers of fortune and people who went to Iraq in order to make a buck. These were people who had no interest in fostering democracy in Iraq. They had no interest even in carrying out their instructions from the U.S. military. What they were interested in was in simply making a profit. They saw their opportunity and they went for it. And these are the people who we know as the war profiteers.
But of all the mysteries surrounding the disappearance of so much Iraqi money, perhaps the most bewildering is this. The coalition was due to hand over whatever was left of the Iraqi money to the incoming interim Iraqi government. But instead of trying to leave them as much as possible, the CPA spent the weeks leading up to the handover on an extraordinary spending spree. The CPA's rush to spend saw no less than $5 billion go in the month before the handover. On the 28th of June 2004, 2 days earlier than announced, Bremer handed power over to the interim Iraqi government. His authority had somehow disposed of nearly $20 billion of Iraq's reconstruction money. Today, US investigators are trying to track down those who stole Iraq's money. They admit that their investigations into the Coalition Provisional Authority have come too late. Even so, they have 50 criminal investigations underway. So, rather than security, bribery, corruption, fraud, mismanagement and incompetence are the real reasons for the disappearance of billions of dollars down the Iraq money pit. In the end, only $3.5 billion was handed over by the coalition to Iraq.
What can be done now to rectify the mistakes that were made?
What can be done now? The Iraqis are going to determine that. I think what we can do is very limited. Our opportunity has gone. We blew it.
Now it's too late. Iraq's own money is spent. And America says that once the additional $21 billion it pledged has gone, there'll be no more. It's a far cry from the promises that were made at the beginning.
We will help them to restore basic services, such as electricity and water, and to build new schools, roads, and medical clinics.
Yeah.
Back in the hospital at Diwaniyah, I wanted to check on the condition of Zahra and Abbas, the twins born 1.5 months premature. Their mother was still unwell after the birth and being cared for in another ward. She had not been told how weak her children were. When I found Zahra, the doctor was having a difficult time trying to treat the child without proper drugs or ventilation equipment. With no suitable mask to resuscitate her, he could only hold the tube to her nostril.
مو بس بداية outside of medicine لأنه لا أنبوبات لا.
If the reports that we're seeing coming out of Iraq now are even half true, the situation there should not exist. This was never a developing country with a third world kind of approach. This was a country that at one time had been the star of the Middle East in terms of health care. It was a country that other Middle Eastern countries referred to as a model of health care. And yet they are functioning at a bare subsistence or below subsistence level.
Yes.
The problem is, the doctors caring for Zahra have virtually nothing to make the best of. They have no ventilators, no adrenaline, not even a cheap but essential medicine like vitamin K. Even the cannula being used on Zahra had to be bought on the black market by her father. And now he has gone into town again, this time looking for vitamin K. Only the grandmother is here. Then Zahra starts to deteriorate. She's gasping for breath. Her father has still not returned. But it is too late.
وين هذا أمه؟ يما هذا انتهى الطفل.
And then the father comes back.
هسه انا راح اجيب هاي الابر لاني اي والله قالوا لي روح جيب فيتامين كي ماكو فيتامين كي روح جبته.
If this hospital had had the correct equipment and the right drugs, Zahra should have survived.
شوف اول غالب له من هذا لا لا تنين صغيرة
تنين جبت
هناك بالصيدلية بالصيدلية خليها
The next day, Abbas, Zahra's brother, died too. This is not the new Iraq we were promised when the coalition invaded our country.